and welcome to Elefant and Roses. My name is Katie. Today I'm going to teach you how to make my dark chocolate cheesecake cupcakes. It's a mouthful. So if you have a better name for them, let me know down in the comments. I'm glad to hear of another name. So the first step that we're going to do, because all the ingredients, as you can see, is behind me, I'm going to teach you how not to have to buy these little cupcake wrappers. With the United States and shrinkflation and increasing prices, the cupcake wrappers have shrunk to match the cake mix shrinkage and explosion in prices. I'm going to teach you how not to use these, but also not how to have to buy those cake box mixes to make your cupcakes. These are really decadent little dark chocolate cupcakes with a bite of cheesecake in the very center. And it's a surprise when people bite into them because they're not expecting it, especially if you don't tell them. They just pick it up thinking it's a dark chocolate cupcake. It's really good. It's a lovely surprise for people. I like surprising people, so it makes it so I always smile when I hand somebody one and they're not expecting it. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. And so we're going to start with, I'm going to show you how to make these little guys to replace these guys. And these are really easy to make. So this is my first tip of the day. So I'm going to go to the overhead camera. So when you have your pan, it looks like this when they're almost ready. And what you need to do this process is parchment paper. And you're going to need these cut in 4 to 6 inch squares. I prefer 5-inch for my muffin pan, aka cupcake pan. And I use these for muffins too. I use them for everything. So my advice is you start with the 4-inch square first. You follow this process. Then if it's too small for your pan, then go to the 5, then go to the 6. One of those 3 sizes will fit perfectly. Just trial and error to figure out which one. And once you know which one's the correct size, then just make up a whole bunch of papers like I have here. I'm a quilter and a seamstress and a knitter and a crochetist, so I have a cutting mat and a rotary cutter I just use for paper. So that's how I end up with a big stack, and the parchment paper is really inexpensive when you go to the store. So, and this process is really easy. You're gonna be shocked how easy this is, because these things are very expensive in the store and you don't want to buy them. You're gonna need just a simple can. I have a tomato paste can from Costco. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your paper and you're gonna fold it in half and just make a crease right down that center, okay? Then fold it open and you're gonna do the same thing one more time, okay? All right, then you're gonna take your can, and this does not have to be exactly the center, but roughly the center, okay? And you're gonna take it and you're gonna fold it over and you're gonna just crease it. And you're gonna fold it the same direction going to the next spot. And if it's easier, you can just spin the paper on the can to fold it, okay? And you want to do it one more time for that 4th line, because you're folding right on those crease lines that you've already made, okay? Now you're going to make sure they're all laying flat. This is the tricky part, okay? And then you're just going to crease it down the sides, and then you can put your hand on the top, and you're going to rub it around a couple times and pop it off. And there you go. That's all there is to making these little parchment paper cupcake wrappers that will make your cupcakes look like they came from a bakery when you did it yourself. So it's a cheap, inexpensive, fast way to make cupcake wrappers, and it's your tip of the day from me. So hopefully that helps save you a lot of money, because these little guys are super expensive and they don't go to the top of my muffin cups anymore. Okay, so the cupcakes are made in 2 different bowls and 2 different methods, so with different ingredients. So the first one that you're going to make, and then once you've made this, you pop it in your refrigerator and you leave it, and while you make the second batch, which is your chocolate cupcake, okay? So to make the cheesecake filling, you need 8 ounces of cream cheese, 1/3 of a cup of sugar, an optional 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and an egg, okay? So to do this, you're just going to drop in your sugar. As I've shared in other videos, it's every baker's got a different method for creaming things, and that's what we're going to do. Instead of creaming butter and cream cheese like we've done in previous videos, we're going to cream the cream cheese with the sugar, okay? And this is the sticky part. It's always fun to get out. Even if it's ice cold, it always sticks. So if you're a newbie, this is normal, okay? You don't want to use a tub, okay? I know you're going to be tempted to grab that whipped cream cheese and think that's going to make this easy. No, don't do that. There's other fillers in that, and it will not make your cupcakes turn out. So don't get tempted by that. Especially if you're a newbie or you've never tried to make a cheesecake before, always stick with the bricks. The bricks don't have any of the added stuff in it, okay? And then you're just gonna smush it down in. I prefer to use the back of a spoon. If you have a mixer, you could always whip this up in a mixer. I'm just showing how to do it by hand because not everybody has fancy mixers, especially if you're new at doing this and you're trying. I don't want you going out buying something really super expensive until you know what you need. When you're first starting out, it's really, really tempting to just go grab things. But you're going to quickly discover, and experienced bakers, if you put a comment down below, you know exactly what I mean. You bought the wrong thing the first time because you didn't know what you needed. And then all of a sudden, you got this expensive appliance in your cupboard that you never use because it was not the right tool for the right job. So that's my advice. I'm going to grab that sugar bowl back. I always crack my eggs in a separate bowl. It prevents eggshell from getting in. It also prevents a bad egg from showing up. I grew up on a farm, hence I grew up doing eggs this way. I very highly recommend it, okay? Set that to the side. Drop in your egg. The salt is optional. I have not found salt makes that big of a difference in my baking. I'm sure there's some recipe out there that really needs the salt added. Just doesn't fit in my... I have one with health issues, and so I try to make everything as healthy as I possibly can when I bake it. So if it's not required, I don't put it in. But if you want to add that, you would put that in, mix it in with your sugar, and then cream your cream cheese in with it, and then add your egg like I just did. And you want to try and get as many of these lumps out as you can. Okay? So what I do is I just put it in the side of the bowl and I just smush it down. Okay? And then I stir, make sure there's nothing else there. Got a couple more I gotta smush in. So have any of you tried to make cheesecake? Can you leave me a comment down below if you have and if you had success? Did you do it the cheap method where you make it and you set it up in the refrigerator? Or did you do the long drawn out process with the springform pan and the oven and leaving it sit? Okay, that's good. I'm gonna go pop this in the refrigerator to chill while I help start working on the cupcake batter. So I'll be right back with. Okay, so now we're to the dark chocolate cupcake step. Okay, looks like a lot of ingredients. It's not complicated. If you're a newbie, don't get worried. It's real easy, and I'm gonna walk you through it all. Okay, so in the first bowl, you're gonna have 1.5 cups of flour. This is all-purpose flour. You don't need cake flour. This is 1 cup of sugar. Then you need a 1/4 cup of dark cocoa. Don't just go out and buy dark cocoa. If you only have regular cocoa, use that. Stay within your budget. Don't go overboard. If you can't afford the dark cocoa, use regular cocoa. It'll taste just as fine. Same with the chocolate chips, which are an optional item. This is 3/4 cup of chocolate chips. If it's not in the budget to do chocolate chips, you don't have any in the house, don't go buy some. It's preferable to use dark chocolate chips, but in this case, we're using milk chocolate chips. I grocery shop every 2 months. When I was at the store, they did not have any dark chocolate chips. They were out. So I got milk chocolate chips. So that is the beauty of this recipe. Like all of my recipes, you can easily substitute other things in. So if you don't have an ingredient, just substitute something else in, or drop me a comment down below and ask me if, hey, will this work? And I will gladly jump on and tell you yes or no. I've made this a lot of times and they always turn out great. So in our case, for my family, we're having dark chocolate batter with milk chocolate chunks. My family's not going to care. They're going to devour them. They always do. So they like this YouTube channel. They got a lot of sweets now. So this is a teaspoon of baking soda. Remember, there's a difference between powder and soda. In this case, we want to use the soda. And then that is your dry ingredients, okay? And those are the ones we're going to sift together first, excluding this. We don't put that in until the very end, okay? So we're going to mix 4 ingredients together, and then we'll add our wet to it, okay? You need, in this bowl, is 1 cup warm tap water. That's another tip. Whether you're making a box cake mix or any kind of cake, always use warm tap water. Not too hot, not too cold. Same premise as if you're making bread. You want warm water to activate the leavening. In this case, the leavening is this baking soda. So warm water activates it, thus you get more airiness and fluffiness. And so that's another tip and trick. In this bowl is a 1/2 cup of oil. I use canola oil. I prefer canola oil. Vegetable oil, if you're a newbie, is a mixture of all these different kinds of oils and you don't get a very good result. I prefer canola oil in this recipe, so definitely do some checking. You want an oil that doesn't have any flavor. Some oils like olive oil will leave a flavor. You don't want that. So if you don't want to use canola oil, do some research, figure out what you can substitute with canola oil for. In this bowl is 1 tablespoon of vinegar. You should always have vinegar if you're a newbie. Vinegar is great to clean with. Vinegar is something that you can use around your house for a lot of different things. So if you want tips, tricks of how to use vinegar and baking soda to clean your house, let me know down below and I'll do a video on how to do that. And the last ingredient is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then the last thing that we fold in is our 3/4 cups of chocolate chips. Preferably dark, but if you don't have dark, go with whatever you got. With my recipe again, you can substitute, change out everything. If you want to put white chocolate chips in instead of milk chocolate or dark chocolate, go for it. It'll taste wonderful. That's the beauty of this recipe. It just, it's very adaptable and very flexible, which is why I create my recipes myself, because I want the recipes to be versatile and changeable to what I need for my family, so, and my budget. So that's all of our ingredients. Yes, we are missing egg. I know most people think there has to be an egg and cake mix. No, we don't need an egg. The egg's in the cream cheese mix. So I will move some of these around and we will get started. Okay, I've got the big mixing bowl. Again, I'm going to do this by hand for newbies that don't have all the equipment. This will help you learn and also not feel like you have to run out and get some expensive couple $100 mixer that you don't need, because you can make it by hand. Our grandmothers did before electricity, our great grandmothers. So pour in your, we're going to mix everything all into this one bowl, okay? And I'm going to add in my cocoa powder. Literally, you're just going to dump it all in. I prefer to measure everything out beforehand, as I've explained in previous videos, so that I'm not at the last second trying to remember, did I add this? Did I add that? Do I have this in the house? Do I not have this in the house? Saves all that, worry and hassle. So now we're going to just mix this really good together. And if you spill some, it's okay. We all do. Sometimes things mix together really fast and simple, and sometimes you splatter. So don't freak out if you splatter a little. You just want to make sure everything in your bowl is really well mixed. Okay? And sometimes you'll see that your cocoa powder clumps and spots. Just push them out like I've showed you before on the sides of your bowl. Yes, you can run it through a sieve. and strain it and filter it and everything, and that's a great step to do. But if you're a new baker, you don't have those pieces. Hence the reason I'd rather show you shortcuts and tips of how to get by without having to buy a lot of equipment. As you progress in your baking, you're gonna go, wait, I'd like to have that. And then you can save for it, or if you find it on special, you can just grab it. But it also lets you learn the tips and techniques and tricks, so that, you know, when you're standing at the store and you're looking at mixers, you know the questions to ask. How fast does the mixer go? Will it do the things I want it to do long term? Let's say you want to get into bread baking in the future. That will help you drastically. Okay, so now to this, we are going to add our water, which is 1 cup of warm tap water again. So we're going to mix that in. And I always mix one at a time for the liquids into the dry. It helps me make sure that everything's incorporated very, very well. And that I don't get pockets of, you know, powder that aren't mixed in or anything like that. So I've asked before what your favorite lemon recipes are. I'm wondering what your favorite chocolate recipes are now. Do you have a specific one you like? Is there one that you'd like me to teach you to make? I have as many chocolate recipes as I do peanut butter and lemon. Those are the 3 favorites in this family, is peanut butter, lemon, and chocolate. Or any combination there within. It sounds kind of interesting sometimes, but yeah. Okay, next item is, this is a 1/2 cup of canola oil. Again, if you don't want to use canola oil, do some research on the internet and find an oil that you do like. And I'm still learning how to get everything in shot, so bear with me if I slip out of shot with some of this. The oil is the hardest to get to mix in, because sometimes it just doesn't want to cooperate. Have you enjoyed this series so far of all the different recipes I've shared? Have you tried them yet? If you're enjoying this content, definitely leave me a like and a comment below, and definitely subscribe for future content. I'm going to try and put out a baking video every Wednesday. I work full time, so sometimes getting all the recipes out the door is a little bit more tricky. I try to record during daylight, so it's a lot better lighting. Okay, that's exactly what it needs to look like. Now we're going to add in our vinegar, and that's going to make our chocolate pop. I know it sounds like a strange combination, but it definitely does. As you can tell, we're having a chemical. The vinegar, when it reacts with the chocolate, is always cool because it makes some foamy white, light dark brown spots in the very beginning. So hopefully you saw that when it happens. And then the last is our vanilla. And while we're making this, remember the cheesecake, not the cream cheese, the cheesecake filling is in the refrigerator chilling out, getting nice and cold for the next step. Okay, and the final thing we're going to do, and this is optional, you don't have to put chocolate chips in, but my family loves chocolate. And this is just one of those extra added levels of layers. When you're baking, the more layers you can add in of flavors and textures, the more oohs and ahs you get. Okay, that's ready. So I'm gonna step away here a second. I'm gonna get everything lined up that we need, and I'm gonna come back and show you how to assemble these cupcakes. And then, okay, to put these together now, you're gonna take, if you're a newbie baker, my advice is to use tablespoons, the big spoons. If you've been doing it a while, you have cookie scoops. So you're gonna need 2 of these cookie scoops if you've been doing this a while. If you're a newbie, don't worry about this. This is a cookie scoop. This makes it so your cookies are all uniform size. And so in the future, when I do a recipe on cookies, this will be something I recommend you buy. but for today, we're just gonna use spoons. So you're gonna take just a scoop of your batter, and you're gonna drop it down in there. And if you get it on the pan like I just did, just wipe it off because you don't want it to burn. And then you're gonna take a scoop of your cheesecake, and you're gonna drop it in just like that. And then you're gonna take another, about a half a spoonful of, and I lost a chocolate chip, sorry about that. And you're gonna put that spoonful in on top. And I am making a mess today, it looks like. But that's okay, just wipe it up so that it doesn't burn. If you do drop some in your other cups, don't worry, it's okay. It's not gonna be a big deal. Obviously try to clean it up if you can. But as you can tell, you're gonna see some of your cheesecake at the top, but you're gonna get your chocolate as well. I'm gonna make these quickly and then come back and show you what the final product looks like. So today I'm very nervous, as you can tell. I was shaking, dropping things in. So normally mine don't look like that, and yours won't, because you won't be so nervous either. So I'm gonna go to the overhead shot. This is what mine look like before I put them in the oven. If you get a little bit on the wrapper, don't worry, that's gonna get hidden by the frosting. So I hope you enjoy this video so far. I'm gonna pop these in. I'm gonna let them bake at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. And I talked about this in my lemon loaf cake video, when you put the toothpick in the middle and you pull it out, you want some sticking to that toothpick. Don't overbake. You want to make sure that it's sticking, because when they come out, they're still at 350 degrees. So while they're cooling, they're still baking. So when you pull that toothpick out, you want it sticking to it. Then after they're ice cold and you stick a toothpick in, it's going to come out clean. Do not wait for the toothpick to come out clean before you pull them out of the oven, or they're overbaked. Always remember, toothpick in, pull it out, make sure there's some of the cake is sticking to it. You don't want it raw. You just wanted that squishiness. And I showed that in the lemon loaf cake, exactly how you want it to look. So I'm going to bake these, and I will come back when they're cooled, and I will show you how to make some frosting, and we'll be able to top them. So this is your cupcake when they're all done. I can put in shots before I start the frosting so you guys can see it up close. There are spots where you're going to see the cheesecake. Best way to avoid that is, again, to use the cookie scoop and put the cheesecake directly in the middle, and then put the chocolate cake around it. So you can tell I was very nervous, so I'm shaking. I'm still learning how to do this. So hopefully you're enjoying these videos. I'm really enjoying doing them. I'm still just really nervous. So once I get more used to doing this and used to like the overhead camera and looking straight ahead and doing all the things, it'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to go do an overhead shot, show you the cupcakes quick, and then we're going to start making some chocolate frosting to put on top of these. Hopefully you're enjoying this video. If you are, please like and subscribe. Okay, so overhead shot. As you can tell, the cupcakes are nice and moist and they're soft, and you can see them squishy. So they're not overly dry, they're perfect. Toothpick in the center, they come out perfect. You can see the cheesecake, obviously, because I was really nervous in doing this. So hopefully you're getting a good laugh watching me be really nervous. So now we're gonna make the frosting. And I've got 4 of them here so we can practice frosting them, and you can see how it works. So what I have in the bowl is 3 cups of powdered sugar. To this, I'm gonna add 2/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. I'm going to scrape out my bowl really good, and I'm using dark cocoa. This recipe works for any kind of cocoa powder. It doesn't have to be dark, but I just thought it'd be really good to go with the dark cupcake. So now we're going to mix this together really good. Again, try to push all your lumps out. There's a couple of steps, so you've got a couple of tries to get them out, but it's better to try in the first round. Hopefully you're not finding this recipe too complicated. It's pretty simple once you break it down. It's just a lot of ingredients as far as the different types of ingredients. But if you break it down into steps, it's really easy, especially if you're a newbie baker. And you'll be shocking people because when they ask, you can say, I made it all, including the wrappers. So you can have one of those moments of pure joy. My great-grandmother was a seamstress for over 70 years, and she would say it's haute couture. I hope I did not butcher the French. But yeah, she used to say that all the time when things were all from scratch and you made it with your hands. It wasn't homemade. You never said homemade around her because it was not homemade. It was custom made. So, and there was any imperfections, that was just part of the design. She was a wonderful lady, and I'm so grateful I got to have time with her in my life. It's not often you get to be with older generations, so I highly recommend it if you get a chance. So that's good and well incorporated. To this, we're going to add 1 stick of melted butter. So you want it good and melted like this. My normal frosting, I just use room softened butter. This recipe, I found it works a lot better if the butter is melted. So you're going to get that good and incorporated as well as you can. It's not going to fully incorporate, you just want to start it. The milk will help incorporate the rest of the way. I'm going to add my vanilla. This is a teaspoon of vanilla. That's next. And I'm going to just smoosh that in a little bit. I have my spoon here to help me. And this is the step where I'm going to switch from spatula to spoon until I get to the very end. Do you have a particular frosting you like more than another? This is 1/3 of a cup of milk, so I'm going to put just part of that in right now. This chocolate frosting, a few weeks ago, I did my peanut butter brownies. If you want to swap out the peanut butter frosting for the chocolate frosting, you can do that. Another thing I've done with my peanut butter brownies is I've done a mixture. So I just do a very light coating of the peanut butter, and then I put a light coating of chocolate over the top, and then it's 2 kinds of frostings in one. That's always a hit at kids' birthday parties. I'm going to pour in the rest of the milk. I'll scrape out the bowl. And little kids just think having peanut butter brownies with chocolate and peanut butter frosting is like all that in a bag of chips. They really like it, and I've had adults really like it too. So, but this is just a basic chocolate frosting, nothing over the top, just simple, straightforward frosting. Sorry if banging in the bowl bothers you. Try not to do that, but I'm still learning, so bear with me. Trying to make sure I stay within the camera range. And just making sure I don't have any big lumps of powdered sugar or cocoa powder. Again, if you're worried about that, put it through a sieve. And you can just push your powders through and it'll catch any big lumps and you can push them out. This is just getting served to my family and they don't care. They literally do not care. And that's all there is to it. Really simple, easy breezy. If you want it a little thicker, use a softened stick of butter instead. That's usually what I do. But it makes it a little bit easier to maneuver when I use the melted butter, and I prefer that. So that's why I recommend melting butter for this recipe. Normally, I just have softened butter. Okay, so that's how it works. And then if you're a newbie baker and you've never frosted a cupcake, what I do is I just push back the paper Okay, just push it back a little bit. You can use a butter knife or this. You probably got one of these in your set with your silverware when you bought new silverware. And this is just a butter knife. It's designed to spread butter, but I found it's just the perfect size versus a spatula or anything like that to get in there and just frost your cupcake. And then just push the papers back up and voila. You get this really pretty, nice and smooth cupcake. Enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe below. Please let me know if there's any other content you'd like. One of the big tools, if you're a brand new baker, I would strongly recommend is getting yourself a good apron. I sell some on my Etsy shop right now. I'm out of stock, but I'm glad to restock. Please leave me a comment below if you'd like to get an apron like what I'm wearing. It really protects your clothes. Especially if you're a newbie baker, you're gonna get stuff on yourself even if you try so hard not to. So always make sure you have a really good apron. That's my one big tip. It really helps. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.